for, I've been looking for a higher love. I've been looking for, I've been looking for, I've been looking. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the third episode of Khamsin Untamed. And I'm going to give people a moment to come into the room as I am still admitting people. I want to thank everybody who showed up. And I want you to start thinking about what you would like to ask me or what you would like for me to talk about. Since I am a manifesting generator as my human design, and my type is the heretic martyr, which means my lifetime is about finding the answers and solutions that maybe are considered heretical, about finding solutions to situations where we had to be martyrs. And I think a lot of us resonate with that. It doesn't mean that you're stuck in victim mode, because that can happen. But being a martyr is basically the conditioning that a lot of women receive. And if you're not sacrificing yourself every single day for the well-being of others, then you're not considered a valuable woman, right? And this is the bullshit and the fuckery that has led to so many stress-related diseases, so many issues with our mental and emotional health. And it has affected our wombs, so it has affected our children. And we were affected by the wombs of our mothers. So tonight, I have no idea where we're going to go. I'm just opening my heart to be the voice and the heart of the goddess, to speak from that space and share with you. So I'm burning some benzoin right now, which if you don't have this, you need to get this. Every spiritual person needs to have some benzoin to burn. This, hands down, has been much more powerful than anything else I have ever used. That includes Florida water, Palo Santo, and sage. Sometimes you just need something to pack that power. And benzoin resin, that packs that power. So I'm going to burn this, let this clear the space. While we're waiting, make sure that you are muted. And as we get ready to begin, if you have a question, put your hand up and share your question or a topic you want me to speak on. And I will choose you first serve when you put your hand up. It might not be anything on your mind right now, but just chill with me and listen to this song that I wrote. All right. So I'm going to play this song, and I want y'all to just listen to this with your heart and allow yourself to feel whatever your soul might be wanting to connect and communicate with you. Been in my soul, been caught in a cold. There's a ache in my bones, 'cause I walk alone. My eyes on my throne, so tell me who knows where I'm coming from. The deeper I go, ain't nobody coming to get me. Ain't nobody coming to fix me. But can't nobody love me like I do. I'm learning every day to live in my truth. I can't be worried about what not gonna be for me. Black sheep, lone wolf, misunderstood, unique, too deep. She not cheap, she don't break easily. You can't pull wool over my eyes, 'cause my third eye sees. I have no interest in words I I read energy. I'm protected, I'm respected. I don't take shit, I don't break shit. I'm a builder, cultivator. I can shape shift. I've been mending my soul, like I've been caught out in the cold. There's an ache in my bones, I gotta let it go. I try so hard to be in the flow, but I was in resistance. Didn't know my persistence was working against me. Now I'm relaxing. I teach it in the sacred sister circle. I ain't playing with the motherfuckers. Cause if you motherfuckers, you about to be the mother lovers. I'm switching this shit, I'm switching this game, and that's what I get. I put in the work, so now I relax. I will never forget. In my soul, been caught out in the cold. There's a ache in my bones, my eyes on my throne. All right, y'all. So this song is called Mending My Soul. And again, I've been going through my own growing pains, and it's something that you cannot avoid. It's something that you're going to go through. It's just part of this process. And I think that a lot of us began this healing journey, and our expectation was that you were going to go from one feeling good moment to the other, because in the beginning it's exciting. Everything is exciting. Like, you in love with crystals, you in love with spirit animals, you in love with learning about chakras, and then real life smack you, and it's just like, okay, what am I going to do with all of this that I have learned? And so, something that I was inspired, I was going to just start off with this for this conversation. But right now we're being called to release our attachments to what was, to what is, so that we can allow what is to become. It's stressful when you awaken and you feel like you have to be mindful and aware of every single thing. And you will find yourself constantly scanning yourself for what's wrong with me, what's wrong with my reality, what's wrong with my partner, what's wrong with my children, because there is this internal system that wants to fix everything, right? This is the difficulty of being called to be the one that heals generational curses, because we have this operating system that's embedded within our soul, where we know that we are supposed to be a solution. Look at the word solution, solution. That's what I say. We know this, but there is a point where you can fix something until you break it. And a lot of us break our own heart. We break our own confidence. We break our own capacity to connect with spirit, because we're constantly searching for what needs to be fixed. And there will always be something that needs to be fixed. There will always be something that needs to be done. And if you are finding yourself overwhelmed by the stress of life, by the demand of life, it is likely that you have awakened the higher dimensional version of yourself, who's having to still deal with everything that was seeded and planted in the womb of your mother's mother, that was passed down to your mother, which was passed down to you within your chromosomes, within your mitochondria DNA. And you are carrying that mantle, and you also carried a desire to be better, to improve, to learn, to evolve, to grow. We must learn to accept what we cannot control, so that we can save our energy for what actually deserves our attention. Many of us are going through life. Life is life, and it will continue. Pluto's position alone is bringing in endings of so many things. And anytime something is ending, there is a period of confusion. There's a period of denial. There is a period of bargaining. This is when you're like, okay, I don't have Jesus anymore. I don't have the religions that I used to depend on. I've awakened from that. This is a painful place to be in because the tools that you were taught to use, like prayer, who am I praying to? Who is this God that has allowed so many wars and so much blood to be shed? And I've learned so much. So I need to do something different. And I know that. And you start bargaining and you start promising, like, I promise if universe, if you just bring me this, I'll do that. If you just fix this for me, I'll do that. And we get stuck in that space. And this is the cycle of the healer who is still wounded. And the only way for us to shift past the wounding is to see the beauty in the wound. The wound is not ugly. I speak from personal experience where, coming from being a model and a video girl and all of the things that I had done since I was 5 years old, to have scars all over my body, I felt so broken. I felt as if a masterpiece had been destroyed. And I carried shame. And this was representation of what I was carrying emotionally. Emotionally, I carried pain. I carried these wounds. And I was so good at putting a smile on my face, you would never know. I knew how to put my makeup on where you wouldn't know that I was up crying all night long. I learned it early. I learned it when I was in high school. I knew I couldn't go to school every day looking like this. So I need to figure out a way to hide it. I got to conceal. And this is when I learned to conceal, conceal, conceal. And so many of us have been concealing for so long that now those emotional wounds are unsealing. They're opening up, not to bring destruction, but to activate the phoenix within us. We have until 2027. And there will be a major shift that's going to occur in 2027 where many of us will look back at the ashes that are in front of us now and see the beauty of the phoenix that they created. I don't care what you're going through. I don't care what problem it is. I don't care how bad it is. I don't care how many times it happened, how many people died, how many people sick, how many people's this. One thing is for sure about humanity becoming divinity, is that we never cease to exist. We are here to evolve. We are here to be enlightened beyond these experiences. It doesn't mean we won't feel, because a lot of us feel more deeply than we ever felt before, because we're finally allowing ourselves to feel. We're allowing ourselves to meet our true self. That's how it happens, through feeling your true self, through feeling the anger and the rage that you had to repress, to feeling the guilt and the shame that you carried, but you didn't want nobody to know because you needed to be seen as a functional adult. So many things that we have carried. And it's just not working for a lot of us. A lot of us are dealing with fatigue. A lot of us are dealing with headaches, ringing in the ears, pain, and it's a crossover between awakening ascension symptoms and clearing the generational template. This is the power of our wounds. This is the power of our trauma. This is the power of our shadows. For those of us who are old enough, this was mentioned to me and it's coming up. For those of us who are old enough to have children who are old enough to talk back to us, yeah, you're starting to meet parts of you that you passed on to your child because you didn't have the courage or the know-how to confront it. Our children are aspects of our shadow selves. They are also aspects of our ancestors. And when you combine ancestral lineage with shadow self, you have children maybe who are very confusing, seem very complicated. One minute they love you, the next minute they can't stand you. You don't understand what's going on. This is healing taking place. It's nothing wrong. It's nothing going wrong. See, the thing about being a spiritual being is that there is no failure, because every failure is proof that you had the courage to try something. You can't fail at something unless you had the courage to try it. So it's never a failure. It's proof of your courage that you was willing to try. A lot of our children were created in chaos. While we were in chaos, while our minds were in chaos, while our emotions were not grounded, we were not centered, we did not know who we were. We were still living in the identity that we had to take on as avatars to navigate the dysfunctional family systems that we signed up for so that we could learn to heal and overcome. And this is where a lot of us are. This is what I call the void space. It's an uncomfortable space. It's a space where you're unsure if what you're doing is working and whether or not you should keep doing it, or should I do something else? Should I just give up? Should I keep trying? Well, I don't want to quit, but sometimes surrendering is necessary. That's not quitting. Surrendering is an act of self-love where you are observing something that you realize you cannot control. So to surrender to that is to allow the cycle of rebirth, of endings and beginnings. We cannot micromanage the laws of the universe. There's so many people out there got videos making it seem like we're controllers of our reality, and every aspect of your reality should be scripted and it should go just like that. And I'm here to tell you that's not true. That's the Kool-Aid that wounded healers drink when they don't want to feel bad about where they feel like they have failed. And I'm telling you, if you don't surrender, you will burn out. And this is the wisdom of divine timing, to know, when do I need to just surrender? When must I stop trying to control the direction that this wave is moving in? Because obviously it's out of my hands. And this is the reason that our spiritual practices must be a part of our everyday life. Listen to me. If most of your time is going into managing the 3D matrix, that's work, school, bills, provision, food, resources, business, all of these things, that's the 3D matrix construct. It's exhausting. If you're not shifting out of that and participating in something that is spiritually going to keep you centered and grounded, you will be swept up by the energies that are bombarding planet Earth right now. Even if you can hide it well, in the inside, there is an internal storm. It is so important that we stop saying, I'm a spiritual person, and start embodying being a spiritual person. Whatever that looks like for you, try something on, try something new, try something for a period of time and journal and see what happens. We must have spiritual practices. The ancient indigenous cultures, the wisdom that they are sending back to us from the future that we think is from the past, but time is not linear, it's cyclical. They're sending this information back to us. If we are sitting on it and not using it, wherever your attention goes is where your energy flows. If most of your attention is on the 3D matrix, then your energy is anchored in the 3D matrix, and you will experience the suffering that's happening on the planet of the 3D matrix. But at any point in time, you can shift from the 3D timeline to a 4D, 5D timeline by having routines that help you to navigate the chaos and create the alchemy that you are meant to create. Okay. If I'm not letting people in, y'all kind of, yeah. All right. So, and I'm ready to take any questions or topics or anything anybody want to talk about. That was sitting on my heart and needed to come out. So I hope that this maybe spoke to somebody or maybe helped you to think of something you would like to mention and bring up. Um, when you propose a question to me as an oracle, as a lineage of the Sybil prophetess, the information comes from the Akashic record. So this is why I said to you all, bring some questions, bring some problems, bring some topics. If you don't want to be on camera, you don't feel like talking, you can drop it in the chat and we'll still address it. But how, maybe I'll ask you, like the information that I just shared, how did that feel to you? Did it feel like I was speaking to you? Did it feel like I said something that maybe you needed to hear? And you can also put your hand up if you don't mind coming on. Yes, okay, I see. Hey, Miss Nielsen. Hey, sis. Yeah, okay, so let's see. Okay, she in here. Did anybody have any topics, any questions, anything?
Hey sis, how you doing?
Hey, Kalia. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's good to see you.
Yes, it's good to see you as well. Hear you and see you. Picture.
Uh, I'm in the dark in the closet, so I'm gonna stay off camera. But yes, what you said resonates.
Hmm.
Um, Having spiritual practices daily, that's a must right now. When
Hmm.
you wake up, when you go to bed, sometimes even throughout the day,
Yes.
it's very important to keep that up, and that's been helping me a lot because I clear in the evening and I
Hmm.
wake up revived and refreshed sometimes,
Hmm.
probably
Hmm.
most of the time. And
Yeah.
it's kind of easier to see when something's off with your energy when you're clearing regularly because you get
Yeah.
accustomed to how you feel, with just within your own energy. So um,
Yeah.
that's been good. Yes.
Yeah. That's really, really good. So basically, you know, the more that you are being more mindful of your spiritual hygiene, the more easily your system is alerted when something is not in alignment.
Absolutely. And it's not mine.
Yeah, I love that because the funny thing about it is, especially for us empaths who definitely are an empath as well, the funny thing about it is sometimes it is difficult to tell what's yours and what's not. Because let's just say you were upset about something that happened that day, and then you run into somebody else who was upset about something, and maybe you let it go, but then after you talk to them, now you have absorbed with that about. We absorb like that, just that easy, just by listening to somebody tell us something that upset them, especially if they're dysregulated. Like if they're just saying, I went through this, but if they like, girl, and you know what he did next, girl? He called that girl back over. I found them at my house. I'm so sick of this. That emotional charge. Like when I come out of conversations like that now, I cleanse myself. And if I'm somewhere where I don't have my Palo Santo, my Benzoin, or some of my crystals with me, especially my citrine and my black ones, I cleanse myself by clapping my hands 3 times. Clapping your hands, the chakras in your hands are very powerful, right? Because think about it, we read palms, right? Hold all of this energy in the story of your soul. So, I'll clap my hand 3 times and clear that energy out. Funny thing about it is when I first started doing it, I hadn't really studied why, but I thought about it like back in the 90s when somebody would be talking to me about something I ain't want to hear, I would start clapping. And I would do that and I was laughing and I was just like, wow, we be doing spiritual shit and don't even know that it really has a spiritual purpose.
I'm over here laughing too.
Especially
Oh my goodness.
like, baby, you clearing out the energy. You like, uh-uh. Yeah. But yeah, that's so awesome. So what do you think about what happens when you wake up and but you feel maybe exhausted or you dread starting your day? Like, what's something that you do to help you get going or to
I'll
shake
take
it?
I'll take a moment,
Yeah,
and if I don't feel right, I'll sit down and I'll
yeah.
get quiet and I just clear, my mind, and I just sit there in my heart for a minute. Like I will pay attention to when the energy changes from, uncomfortable to comfortable. So I will take a minute. It's that important.
Mm, I love that. That's so powerful because we have gotten so conditioned by the language of our mind that we don't listen to the language of our heart as much. And the mind is always talking. The heart is not always talking. The
The mind
heart's
be talking a lot of shit.
constantly, right? Because our mind has been infected by a virus. The ancient indigenous cultures called it wetigo. We would call it fear and every emotion that's attached to it. So the mind is always afraid of something. The mind is afraid of you succeeding. The mind is afraid of you failing. The mind is afraid of you speaking your truth. The mind is afraid of how people might respond to you. The mind is always in fear, trying to create some form of security, and it has ego to get that done. So so to take a moment and be like, let me just take a moment with myself and be with myself for a moment and quiet my mind and see if my heart is giving me some direction. That's so powerful. When you start to do that, and when you do that over and over and over again, what happens is the cords that connect you to family trauma start to weaken. And they start to weaken to the point where your tolerance for drama is lower and lower and lower till you get to a point just like, you know what? I'm just not, I'm opting out of drama with people. I'm not. And that's the quickest way for you to lose me. I'm not going to. And so that's beautiful. I was healing from my 10-year karmic relationship. That was one of the first things I started doing because mine was telling me, give him another chance, do what he wants you to do, make him happy, just please him. And my heart was like, no, this is karmic. This is not good for you. Get away from him. And that's when I noticed that it was two different languages. And they feel different and they have a different intention. The heart is always speaking from a place of self-love. So, it's not easy for from the head to the heart, but that's why it has to be a practice. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And your tolerance, like I tell my clients, like if you're having a hard time letting go or of a certain person or a situation or whatever it is, like the best way to do it is for you to allow yourself to focus on why this is no longer aligned with you. Like actually focus on it. Like focus on why this is not in alignment with who I feel that I am. And what that does is it gives you clarity. It draws a line. It makes it clear. It ain't no confusion about it. You know this is a situation you don't belong. That's what I had to do. And I realized that the journey from the head to the heart is the journey of the 40 days through the wilderness. And so this is depicted in a lot of different ancient texts about being in this wilderness space. Well, the wilderness is the space in between the head and the heart. Physically, these locations are very close, but energetically, these locations are very far away from each other because that's how separated we have been from our heart space. But yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, that's that's what this whole journey is about, from head to heart. The Kundalini energy helps us rise up the spine, but the heart and the head have been severed and we're bridging a gap. And so you can't connect to spirit unless you connect through the heart. And this is why a lot of us are learning some hard lessons from the way that we think. And most of us in our reality came from something that we thought about over and over and over again. And so the key to letting go of attachment of anything is to have the courage to listen to the heart, you know, and the heart don't always make sense. Your heart might tell you, don't go to work today. And you like, I'm working from home. It's like, it's not, don't go to work today, you know, and maybe it's a download you needed to get. So you got off early so that you could spend time with yourself. Like that's how the heart don't give a fuck. Security matrix rules. The heart is only looking out for you and your higher self. And that can be scary because it could cause disruptions in what has become norm to us. Yeah, Pluto shaking that up for sure. Um, I've been feeling it. I've been feeling it. And I've even been thinking about death more often. Just not just human life, but just endings. So yeah, I think it's time for us to take on what Kalia shared and have been doing and make it a part of our daily practice. Yeah. Thank you, Kalia. You ain't gotta go nowhere. You can hang around and something come back to you, come up, you know, and talk to me.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Absolutely.
Miss Nelson, you said, hey, Spirit told me to get my ass on this Zoom, and now I know why. Yeah, that that right there. That is, I waited, you know, till tonight to do the Zoom. Um, usually, okay, I'm sorry. Usually I'll try to put a show together, but because I'm running a business, right? So I should have a schedule, right? But lately, Spirit has been like, yeah, you running a business. It's a spiritual business, and you need to listen to Spirit as often as possible. And so this has not been easy for me. You know, I'm a workaholic, so I prefer to be busy, to always be doing something. When I'm not, you know, in my Netflix binge mood, because I get into moods and sometimes, but for the most part, I love what I do so much, but Spirit had just been like, no, you need to be silent until you are absolutely moved to speak, so that the value of what you're offering to those who connect with you, you know, goes up. And that's absolutely what happened. I'm going to bring up something because one of my sisters mentioned it. I don't see you on here or mention it, but I'll just bring it up because I remember. But we were touching on the process of grief. We kind of touched on it a little bit in conversation. And it's ironic because just probably 6 or 7 days ago, I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and said to myself, I have to make a course to help people grieve. And it needs to be something that's simple, that's easy, effortless, because they already dealing with enough. And I went looking for courses for this and couldn't find any. And I was shocked. And I was like, wow, saying like it would be a lot of this out there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a course for grief. And in that course, you're going to get audio every day that you can listen to that's going to be spiritual guidance. It may include a meditation, and it may also include a mantra that you can use. Now, let me talk about mantras. Mantras aren't just affirmations that you write for yourself that you repeat over and over again. They can be. But most mantras are in Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is the language basically of the cosmos. So mantra is the mind, right? This is the mind of man. And repeating these words, we know that our words are very powerful. So let's just say you're dealing with being at a crossroads where you're having to decide who you're going to be moving forward, how you're going to deal with something that you had to go through moving forward. Are you going to continue to let it affect you the way it has been affecting you? Or are you going to change the way that you approach whatever this situation might be? When you're at a crossroads like that, then that's a great space. In African mysticism and different religious systems. You know, you would go to the crossroads, or you would talk to Papa Legba. In the Hindu system, you would go to Lord Ganesha, and Lord Ganesha is actually inside of the human brain. The geometry of an elephant is actually something that you can see inside the human brain, and it's shaped like an elephant head. So Ganesha, these deities are seeded into humanity. Think about all of the DNA that they have not been able to read and crack open. Think about all of the mitochondria DNA that holds all of this genius knowledge from the beginning of our time on planet Earth and beyond, if you're tapping into that. So all of that is within you. So once you use sound and your own voice, which is the encapsulated frequency of your soul, then you're able to tap into this cosmic energy that's within you, because we are the microcosm of the macrocosm, right? Everything that we see happening in space is happening within us. We are connected. There is no separation. So when you chant, what happens is you create a barrier around yourself, and that barrier will act as the intention holding sacred space to help you navigate whatever you're experiencing. So when a lot of the situations that I went through, and I have went through a lot of grief, let me tell you, I cried every day for at least 10 years. Like, I remember very clear. This is why I learned how to do makeup. I became a makeup artist. I was so good at hiding my tears and stores or whatever I had got whooped for, whatever was going on. I was so good at it, I became a makeup artist. Um, but I cried so much. I wasn't just grieving for my own experiences, but I was grieving because as a Sibylline prophet, as an oracle, I can see what's unfolding with decisions that people are making, and it was painful for me. And a lot of times I would try to talk to them and they wouldn't listen to me. And I would change the way I'm talking to them to get them to listen, and they still would not hear me. And I would have to watch them slowly, gradually walk down a path of destruction. That could end in them being paralyzed because they got shot in the back. And I tried to tell them, went into detail about where you go be, who you go be with, how it's gonna happen, what you're gonna be wearing. Did the best that I could. Or, don't continue to let this person come to your house. I seen that they have some type of interest in children, right? I remember going through this, and I remember sometimes if it was a woman I was telling it to, and she would tell the dude, and the dude would confront me. Why would you tell her something like that? I would never do anything like that. And so the chick wouldn't listen because he's so convincing. And I would have to watch that story slowly unfold. It was so painful. It was so brutal. And I've had this gift my whole life. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't have spiritual practices. This is why I ran to religion. Religion was a narcotic for me. It was an opioid. I needed something to numb me. I needed something to make me feel like all that I was going through was worth it for some reason. And so this is why suffering became like a crown that I wore. There's even this scripture that says that people who suffer the most, will have more righteousness added onto them and more glory when they get to heaven. So I even got it tattooed on my body. It resonated, and I was like, yeah, yeah, okay. So it's the purpose in my suffering, and there is purpose in suffering, but I was conditioned to believe that that was the only life that was available to me. And so, after 10 or 15 years of deep study, I started to find all of the things that were not in alignment with my heart, and I realized that religion was not supporting me. And not to say that it's not some good stuff within certain religious texts, because it is, and it could be used in a lot of different ways. Look at hoodoo, for instance. You know, you can use anything. But when you're using mantras, it's not really connected to a religious system. Now, for those who grew up in Hinduism, there are conversations because there's a lot of Christianity and Muslims within their communities too. I mean, no matter what continent it's on, it's the same thing. But one of the things that I'm noticing is that religion sowed a lot of discord, and we accepted it as being something that's just a part of our life. There's nothing you can do about it. There's a scripture that says that you should hate thy family and love thy neighbor. If your family is not a follower of my father, then you're not my family, right? And this is why when your spiritual beliefs start to change, people in your family who are Christians, they cannot wrap their mind around it at all. And they're more likely to have a deep resentment, against you, and feel that you're making a really bad decision walking away from that belief system. And the scripture is like it's written in scripture. So if you spend any time under that, if you were in a womb of a woman who had these beliefs, or her husband, or your daddy had these beliefs, if you were around people growing up who had these beliefs, if you had to stand in school every day and lay your hand on your heart and pledge allegiance, all of these things are forms of sorcery. They're forms of mind control. We were brainwashed, no different than what happened with Hitler, right? It was mass brainwashing. I mean, the same scientists that helped Hitler came here in America and set up these systems that are now crashing. So we're breaking free of that. There's another scripture that came to my mind because when you are called to have like certain spiritual gifts, like being highly intuitive, being empathic, able to see things before it happened, premonitions, dream things before it happened. All of these different psychic gifts are usually signs of what's in your bloodline as far as spiritual power, right? Or what star system you came from, which I'm going to get into in this course as well. Um, I'm putting it together, y'all. So like, stay with me. I really want y'all to tap into this because this is going to be really powerful. And I'm setting it up where you won't have to spend no more than 30 minutes a day and still see transformation, because that's what I've been doing. But what happens is there's a scripture that says, in the last days, mother would be separated from daughter and father would be separated from son. It even said that we would kill each other. And I never forget asking myself, why does this have to happen? Like, because the way it sounded was as if there is no other way. So I accepted this. I accepted this belief that it is the only reality that I can experience. And guess what? I have been through so much with my first daughter, and half of her life was raised in church. I forced her to go because I was forced to go. We don't realize that when we do things like that, we're actually erasing the sovereignty that our children came here to have. And that doesn't mean that you don't create some structure and rules for your children, but forcing them to have a belief system that they're not even old enough to be able to digest. Your brain isn't fully developed until you turn 25. So we are feeling the impact of these things. That's not the only reality. There's a reality where you can, and this is the conscious parenting, and we did the conscious parenting course, which is on Patreon right now. And I'm gonna update that and do another one because I'm constantly learning. But what I have learned is that our children are the sponges who soak up the shadows we couldn't face. And so if your relationship with your children is not the way you would like for it to be, the best way, the most effective way that I have found is healing those shadows within yourself. Because when you heal that frequency of feeling wounded and the shame that's attached to it, you remove that genetic imprint from your bloodline. So your children will still have experiences in their soul contract to work through, but you're kind of leaving a spiritual legacy. You're making an investment. You're making a spiritual investment into what your children will be able to tap into. It's no different than putting money into a CD deposit account for your children to be able to access after you transition. It's the same thing. Everything in the 3D matrix came from the spirit realm, right? You know, so it's the exact same thing. And that's going to be more healing than you trying to teach your children with your words, especially if they old enough to have seen you go through some of your awakening and see the difference in you. You might be looking kind of crazy to them. They might be like, I really don't understand daddy. I don't understand mama. I don't know, child. One minute she was Christian, the next minute she was a Hebrew Israelite, and now she act like she a Buddhist. She in her chant Om every day. You have to be able to allow them to have whatever feelings they have, not be attached to it, and keep doing what you know. Keep using what you are learning. And the more you do that, you change the quantum field around you. So what they do won't have the same effect on you.